we're a little lean today. Some of us have got proxies. I'm hoping that we'll have a couple other members show up, but since it's 10 after, I'd recommend we go ahead and get started.
I'd second that. Yeah,
Okay.
I've got to move on too.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, we can certainly do that. Okay, from the agenda for today's meeting, I welcome you all. Introductions. I don't see any new members. I don't see any guests at the time. Would like to address the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any changes or corrections?
No.
Okay. Could I have a motion that we approve them?
I'll motion.
A second? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Under old business, just to sort of recap, the AT celebration event ran for basically 5 weeks. Also, we had a number of different things, different events that occurred in and around town. I don't know if any discussion, comments, feedback.
I thought Bisweek did us a real good job. The banquet and the presentation, they had a lot of good comment on it. In fact, I'm hearing a lot of good comment on what y'all are doing, promoting the outdoors.
Right. No, I thought the partnership renewal highlighted at the Bisweek banquet, I think it turned out really well. That was a good way to do that. And just so the committee knows, those that have been involved for a long time, Julie Judkins from the Asheville office. Good news is she got a promotion. And the other good news is she will still be focusing her efforts on outreach. So, all of her job now is focused trail wide. And so I expect, they're talking to Morgan Somerville, that in time the Asheville office will hire someone to take her spot. That will be our regional point of contact for AT community and the school outreach. So that's good. The update on Macon Transit update, Justin, I don't know if you've got anything. I did talk to Kim Angel. I don't know if you got anything.
I was trying to get a hold of her this morning, and I wasn't able to get a hold. She's in a meeting. I was going to see. I was trying to go get a count, maybe see how how it's going, and
right.
how many trips and how many average. I was trying to get some numbers.
Yeah, and I do have
you
that.
Got some?
Yeah. So on Macon County Transit, this being the first year that they had scheduled runs up to Winning Stair Gap. They ran for about 6 weeks on the scheduled runs, 16 March to 24 April. They did do some on-demand, specifically the last week of April, and may have had a few more, but she mentioned after she cut off the scheduled run, she had heavy demand, and the on-demand run from the 27th of April through to May. She carried 568 people. She calls them units. Now, that could mean
that works.
Yeah, unit. Okay. That could mean that a single person rode it twice, once down and once back, and that would count as 2 units.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyway.
Yeah. But still, that's impressive.
Right. So 568. Her cost roughly $3,400. They collected $3 to 568, more or less $2,000. So they had to subsidize it by $1,500. And what I recommend, I think will happen is that when we get ready to update the data books, I can kind of put an estimate in there. the guidebooks in October, that we, you know, that Macon County Transit be part of that discussion. And, you know, this committee might consider going to either to the TDC or the TDA in coordination with Macon County Transit and ask for a grant to cover what they had to subsidize this year. And then we'll see where it goes next year. You know, they asked for $1,500 or $2,000 specifically to subsidize that. You know, of course, what was I going to say? I'm prejudiced. Personally, I'm prejudiced, but I think this is a great way to publicize Franklin. It's a great thing that we're doing, and I would hope that between the TDC and the TDA, they would be in favor of that small amount of money to support that. So,
how soon do you think we should approach the TDA and TDC?
I think after I know the TDC grant cycle works about 2 months out, so I'm thinking, you know, late fall, after we talk to Kim and see what she wants to do for next year. And she would, when I talk to her, she's going to have to provide some numbers, which, you know, may not be much more than what she gave me. But then that would be the facts behind our grant request. And so I think October, November, we get it turned in, and certainly by January, February, the TDC and the TDA would react, and she'd be ready to start running in March.
Let me ask a question. In all of this, where is the Chamber of Commerce?
Well, I would say they supported the TDC supported our grant request for really promotion, publicity, and of course the Chamber is, you know, highly involved in that. So now I did hear from Linda. She thought that today's meeting would be tough for her to make. I asked her about sending a volunteer, and she said that she didn't have that many volunteers yet back. So
She's got employees.
Well,
I guess
think
a couple of them had to go to Asheville for a meeting.
But they've only, I don't know how long I've been on this committee, but I've only seen the Chamber here one time.
Yeah, well, they've come a few times, but it has been an issue for their staff. So that's kind of where we stand. I think the 568 units. I think that's really good. And like I said, I hope the committee will work with them and we give it another run next year.
So the next step is just asking them, do they want to continue doing it and
I think
go together?
Yeah, and I think in talking to Kim, she's not, as long as she can break even, and that's why she'll, she's kind of leaning towards us to go to the TDC, to TDA, and ask for a grant.
Okay.
And she says, as long as I break even, I'm okay with it. She sees it as a good promotion for Franklin. She also wants to do better at advertising for locals to take that ride up in the morning and then get on that ride in the afternoon for that 6-week period if people wanted to go up there and go hiking. So, get out. So, okay. David, I'm glad you're here. You may have just tipped the scales. You may have just tipped the scale.
You have a 9:30 doctor appointment. I figure I'm doing good. I'm
You have done excellent.
less than an hour.
Okay, you're the 8 out of 15, so we're good. We're good to go. So the next item of old business is to vote on the bylaws. We reviewed them several times between Ken Murphy and his background on being on other boards and his formal training as a lawyer and Christina's support. I think they're good to go. So I'd like to have a motion.
I would like to make that motion if we approve it.
Okay, could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, outstanding.
Awesome. I'll see if I can do that. I think I can do that.
You can take the draft off and we'll be good, right?
Yes, we'll be official.
Other old business, TDA, TDC, and if and when the Main Street program reorganized comes back into active status, the liaison requirements. I just think at certain times it'd be valuable for a member of our council to attend those meetings. I talked to Matt Bateman this morning. Obviously, he is on the TDA, and my thought would be, and we've got members on the TDC, both Linda and Gary Shields are on the TDC, and obviously we got town reps with the Main Street program and or Ken Murphy. So I guess my thought would be for those members of our council that attend those meetings that are members of them, if they look over the agenda and there is an issue, then they just inform us. So we sort of sit silent unless we have something to go before them. But I think I'm in favor of that we support our members that sit on those if they need our voice in some way, if it's supporting what we're doing.
Yeah, I think sometimes if one of those members just says, "Hey, this is what's coming up this month. Can you specifically be here?" If somebody directly asks me, I'm more likely
then we can get somebody amongst us to make the meeting and represent us in our opinion.
I think more than just a general email out to the entire group saying, "Hey, if you can make it, be there." Be more specific.
Let's have a trigger. Yeah. Okay, so I will send out an email about that to those folks that sit on there and ask them to, when they review the upcoming agenda, if there's something important that they let us know. The next item is the AT Community Conference in November of 2015. We talked a little bit about that. I personally was hoping Patty would be available to go, but apparently she is not.
Say this is in Virginia?
Yeah, it's in actually West Virginia. It's in right outside of Harper's Ferry is where it's going to take place. And
Don't you go to that?
not necessarily.
Did San Jose go to it this year?
I don't. Really, this is the first time.
Okay. Yeah.
But the intent, the intent is for those folks that aren't so familiar with the Conservancy and the program and all that.
Okay.
So
I've got it mixed up.
with the biannual, maybe.
Yeah, that was it last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, we had the partnership meeting has been there.
Yeah.
Or they had, AT had the executive club leader training thing.
Right. They have club leader training. Yep.
I think
But this is separate and distinct. ATC got a grant, I believe through the National Park System, to support. I had a chance to look at, as they developed the agenda, the focus. One of the major focuses on kind of the buzzwords is balancing commerce and nature. Talking about how you can protect the natural resources that are right outside most of the AT communities, but at the same time use that resource to grow and support commerce, which is what we've talked about several times. So it just November's coming up. Again, the conference itself is paid for, the lodging and the conference. It's just that the transportation to and from and or meal, you can drive there in a day, would have to be covered.
We might be able to town, if somebody will go, if they're representing this committee, which is the official committee of the town, we might be able to come up.
That's funny. So, I guess.
What's the deadline to register?
Oh, it's not out there yet. We got time. We got time, but I think it would be I guess, my thought would be a business person, from the council. And we've got, a couple, obviously more than one business. We got several businesses, and several of those businesses have more than one person that's been involved with this council. And then, again, I was thinking someone from the town. Whether it could be, I don't know if Barbara could take Patty's place, kind of broaden her perspective a little bit by November, maybe.
Let's just see.
Yeah, but I just say if we can start, talking that up, so that people can get it on their calendar and that type sort of thing, because it is, you'll drive up on Sunday and you actually be back Wednesday night. You can get back Wednesday night, kind of late.
I guess what's tricky about the timing is it's election day happens that week.
That's true, but Barbara won't. It's the
Second to the fourth?
yeah, it's the 1st through the 4th.
Well, the election is the first Tuesday in November.
So the 3rd, November the 3rd.
Okay, so that means whoever went from here, you're right, whoever went from here would have to vote early, would have to do early voting. So you're right, that is it.
So, okay, so Barbara and Patty wouldn't be up for election.
They're not up for
at that
election.
time.
They just got
No,
last
no,
time.
they're not up.
Right.
They're not up. Well, we got a little time to figure
Okay.
that out, Bill. And, like I said, I'll scout around, and if somebody wants to go, we'll see if we can scrounge up some money to help with that expense.
Okay.
Because they would be basically representing the town.
Right, and that's why my thought, if there
Yeah.
was an elected official, and a fallback could be obviously an employee of the town, and then one of our local businesses. I think those two entities would get a lot out of what's going to be discussed at that conference. They're also going to talk about the idea, which we brought up once before, is now starting to look beyond just Franklin, and could something be done regionally? And we talked a little bit about, pulling in Fontana and pulling in Hiawassee, and see if the entrepreneurs can figure out a way to improve business by working together with the AT community just north of us and the one that's just south of us. There are other trail systems that have done that, where they're like the local bed and breakfasts that work together to move people's bags and coordinate picking people up. Some accommodation out of Hiawassee will take a person to the trail and they'll walk, and then somebody from Franklin will go down and pick them up off the trail, something like that. Let the entrepreneurs figure out a way that they can make money.
So Hiawassee and
Fontana is the one to the north, Fontana Village. So they'll talk about that and give some examples of what's been done on other similar trails. The next item would be or any other discussion? The next item is the Hiker Services brochure and its corrections. Again, I'd like everybody to take a look at that, and you can get the information to me on any corrections that need to take place on that, so we can.
I'm going to tell you the Renewing Franklin website.org.
Yeah.
That link is dead.
Okay, do you know, Justin, will the town of Franklin have, or is there a town of Franklin website that we would want on here somewhere that people could go out to it, or?
You would just be franklinnc.org, just the town's website.
Okay.
And it hasn't been used in much time, so.
franklinnc.org.
.com, sorry.
Oh, I'm
not
sorry.
.org,
Yeah,
.com.
.com, okay. All right, so no more of the Renewing Franklin. Of course, we got our council's website down there. I didn't know if people thought we should put the Facebook page information on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put it on there.
Okay. And I started to look at next year's calendar. And, you know, if we thought the idea of an AT celebration period was something that we wanted to continue, as opposed to one specific weekend. And then I looked at the first day of spring to Earth Day, and best I can figure out, the first day of spring normally usually falls on the 20th of March.
I think it changes a tiny bit.
It's
Yeah,
20,
it can move
20,
around.
21st, 22nd. It varies.
Okay, of course, like I said, it does with the moon or
It
something.
is, for the next
Yep.
few years, it is the 20th.
Okay, and then Earth Day is always April 22nd, the best I could figure out. And then I looked at next year, Easter falls early, 27 March.
That's based on
Which is
the
the
Hebrew
biggest.
calendar. That's crazy.
So, and then Easter the 27th of March, the weekend closest to the 1st of April would be the 2nd. So there's not a direct conflict between Easter and the typical weekend we put a lot of effort into, that being around the weekend closest to April Fool Trail Days. So, you know, I'm just kind of putting out there for discussion the idea of, at least for now, the thought that we would continue the AT celebration period, and that's running from first day of spring to Earth Day, like we did this year.
Sounds good to me.
And
yeah.
give the organizations, businesses, that latitude to do things during that period, but not necessarily all on the same weekend. And then, you know, in the meeting read-ahead I put out there about just small things, the brochure, compliments of, you know, Town of Franklin, TDC, TDA, Franklin AT Community Council, and the Conservancy. We'll need to add the trademark TM to the AT Community logo. I thought that we ought to leave the year off, but somewhere put down the month and year of printing. It can be very small, but so people wouldn't grab the wrong one if there get to be a couple different years out there. We did talk at our meeting about somehow highlighting the AT community supporters. We had a discussion about eliminating the AT services line that was there. I think the intent there is not to highlight any specific business by name. We talked about adding shower options for that service. I know Matt brought up the idea of eliminating or cutting down on the written material and making it more like a table of contents. Certainly the digital version could be kind of like a table of contents with hot links to buttons, so people, if they want to know more, they just hit a link and they're driven to the history section on the ATC's webpage. And under the Town of Franklin, there could be hot buttons that would take them to where lodging is shown, the Chamber's website, that type sort of thing. And then the map changes. We talked about
Siler Road.
yeah, I put let's see, the new bridge, Walmart, the library, and that's the Siler Road. Franklin Motel's gone. I think that,
What's the importance of Skyler Road?
it's not on the map. It's an old, it doesn't show the connection between
That's where the library
Walmart
is.
and the library.
Walmart and the library, and or the Outfitter, Three Eagles in the Microtel.
I'm
And
imagining hikers
That
using it
time.
for any reason. Maybe
well, they could,
Well,
you know,
get
they
to the
could,
Walmart.
yeah, they'd walk down to the Walmart, that sort of thing. So we get Siler Road. Franklin Motel is gone. The rental car has moved next to Ace Enterprise.
Right.
The Dollar General at Bilo is gone. And they're downtown. Walmart's moved. Laundromats, I think there's another one of those that need to be shown. The comment about add the Franklin Greenway and the Frog headquarters, if that'll work. And then do a check on the restaurants that are here and the motels. And we might be able to put a comment somewhere that you go out 64 west, little caption that says AT 11 miles or something like that. But I'd ask everyone to, take a look. I can send this out again digitally, ask you all to take a look, and then I can get all the, consolidate the information and get it to Tony Angel, which said he'd redo that for us. Okay. I spoke to 3 folks about the council nominating committee, Matt Bateman, Patty Abel, and Christina. They'll be putting together a list of nominees, which will be published at the June, well, actually be published before the June meeting. The election, based on our newly approved bylaws, would take place in June, with new leadership stepping in July. Personally, I said I'd do it for a year. That's all I'm going to do it for. I'll be glad to be an ex officio member. You can hire me for a cup of coffee or a Coke.
I thought the bylaw said it was 2 years terms.
Oh, yeah.
We just voted on it.
Yeah, that is true.
The bylaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it says in here.
Anyway, the nominating committee will meet to do that. We talked about the AT Community Conference. Any other comments, thoughts on old business? Anybody got anything? Okay, under new business, I'd like, to put out the idea of doing a hiker survey again. We did it, the committee, or the council committee at the time, did that in 2015. I'm sorry, 2009 and 2010, or it might have been 10 and 11. I can go back and look. But it was a one-page survey. We took it out to the motels, but that was a little tough sometimes, the motel employee asking the hiker to fill it out. We really got the greatest, 80% of what we got back, we got through the First Baptist Church for their free breakfast. It was a captured audience, okay, if you will. And
We'll feed you.
I just think that might be a good time to do that again. And honestly, we've got lots of time to take a look at that. the old survey, the questions we asked, we might, review that and tweak that a little bit. But,
We should offer incentives if you get a free power bar if you fill out the survey.
well,
And they're getting a free breakfast.
yeah, they get free breakfast,
Well,
but,
that's over and done, isn't
but again, they had them right there at the tables.
Was
as
that
the first
last year?
issue. No, when we did it in '09 and 2010.
it? Oh.
Maybe we can put them on the buses. They can fill one out on their way back out to the trail.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Not putting one online or anything?
Do you know if the Baptist church is amenable to doing, are they doing the breakfast again?
As far as I know.
Yeah, it seems to be something.
An annual thing?
We could also get them out to the folks that are on the shuttle list, get them a copy, so that kind of the same thing. If they're shuttling somebody back out to the trail while they're driving out there, they
Fill
can-
out this survey while I drive you.
exactly.
I mean, we all do it informally if we pick up a hiker,
Right.
ask them how their time has been.
But, the old survey asked them a little bit of information, how old they are, where they're from, what their education level
Get the
was.
maintenance team to ask them when they run into it.
You what now?
Get the maintenance team to ask them when they run into it.
Discretionary or their income categories, and then how many nights in town, how much money do they spend and where, and anything the town could do or the community could do to support them. So it's pretty generic plan, but
Make it too long.
right, yeah, one page, trying to check the block, good, bad, and there, Under any other thoughts on that? I think the buses putting it on the buses is a good idea. And we could certainly put some at the motel, but again, it was hard, I think, getting the employees at the motel in there, what they're doing to check a person in or out to get them to fill out a survey, but,
Right, and then collecting them.
yeah. In fact, I think we even put them on the hiker boxes that are located at the motels and the 2 outfitter stores. They were right there, so if anybody dropped something or went over to look at the hiker box, they could fill out the survey.
But yeah, putting it online, Justin, that's a good idea. Where would we put it? That
Well,
hikers would go to after they.
I'll think you put it on could you see about putting it on the main AT Conservancy's website? Maybe like
Well, they have
a
a
survey, like if you visited Franklin, here's a survey.
So I think what you're saying is maybe make it more generic, is that the ATC could put it down there for, one of the blanks is what town.
Yeah.
It wouldn't just be Franklin. I mean, they might do it for,
You could be
all.
the same survey, yeah, they could do, and then if they click Franklin, then they can send the results to us.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Something that everybody would go to, not just ours.
Right,
Right.
right. It might have better to do that. Of course, we could put it on our committee website. I think that some way that could be put on there.
Yeah, like if there was a link from the ATC's general survey, we could put that link onto our site.
Or,
Does the ATC already have something like that?
well, there might be a way where when you first open up the survey, there's a town,
Right.
all the
right,
communities
drop
come
down.
up, and they click it, and that automatically types Franklin in there.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to think of some way. I'm not, familiar with all those ways, but that would be good. And then it directly comes to us. And, okay. Under new business action item, time schedule, was around October. We did a review of what's in the guidebooks. And then focusing on the AT celebration schedule for next year. And then the guy gets into the grant request that may come out of that. So kind of looking again around November of 2016 would be a focus point for those items. And then, you know, as a group, we had some issues that came out of our partnership renewal meeting, and to see out of those if there's something that we as a council want to focus on as we move forward. You know, we talked about, well, one of the things we talked about was look at ways to get the program synergy between the close communities, i.e. Hiawassee and now Fontana. Look at the access points to the AT, identify the best access point from Franklin, make sure that's in the guidebooks. Analyze the AT road crossings for possible improvements. And Bob, I think you were the one that made the comment about the crosswalk up at Winding Stair Gap.
Well, I'm not sure. I talked to the DOT about that. And, you know, the DOT's like a lot of other things. They can come up with reasons why not to do something. I haven't given up on it, though. I'm going to see him again. I believe it's next Monday night. Bring that up again.
Okay. And then under the support to the hikers, under the scores of limited availability, what scored in that category was camping options, showers, and AT signage. Specific comments on need for wayfinding signage to direct primarily locals and visitors to the AT at Winding Stair Gap, and the idea for downtown kiosks to highlight the AT and its close proximity to Franklin. Is there any discussion about downtown kiosks, about for any reason, wayfinding?
Nothing. It's actually something that us in Chapel Hill walking around, looking at different things. They have those around the campus, obviously for the campus.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said the idea popped in me, it would be neat to have something like that for town, showing the main, some of the, you know, the main stable points in town. You could get that down and show, you know, this is the JC Memorial Park or the fire department, or, you know, even some, you know, Eagles or some of the big stuff, the stuff that would draw people, and then that would could tie into it. You know, it could be a two-sided thing.
Right. You know, so I've been in towns where there's, in the parking lot, you know, I've seen there's, you know, you park your car, you walk to the point, there's this kiosk, and okay, here's restaurants, here's shops, that sort of thing. Or at the town vicinity, the town square, which is owned by the county, right?
Well, I don't know.
I always find that interesting. But, you know, right there, people are drawn to that point. They can orient, okay, this is where I'm at, and the brewery's down there, and the Bowery's here, and town hall's here, and that sort of thing. But I think, honestly, Justin, if there's ever some traction on that, that might be something that we can participate in as a council.
That's one of the other hundreds of ideas I have.
Yeah, there you go. You gotta have.
The kiosk has been floated around for years, and nobody can ever agree on
What ought to be on it, where it ought to be.
Yeah.
where it ought to be, what it's going to look like. Kind of like the gazebo thing, it died a natural death.
Yeah.
Well, kiosk would be pretty cheap.
It would, but trying to get everybody together to
But you could
come
make
up
it,
with a
you could make
design.
it, you could make something just temporary and portable, and then you could move it around different places if people complained, or if it didn't seem to be getting good response, and just see what what kind of response you get. Better to do something.
Well,
than
if
nothing.
you're gonna do it though, it needs to be done right. It needs to be something that,
But you don't know what right is yet.
that's the problem.
And if you do it, you definitely know what isn't
Someone will tell you what's wrong, yeah.
Okay.
Ever since the design that they picked for the gazebo was labeled, it looked like a wedding chapel from Gatlinburg.
One person's perspective. All right.
Did you do that, Bobby?
Any other items under new business? Anything going on that you think will be affecting the AT impact on the council?
I've always thought we need to venture more into some of our information on hiker safety. On what to do, if they, maybe get with some of the fire departments, that have trails go through them. West Macon and Otto, and, it's kind of a challenge sometimes when somebody's having a heart attack or a broke leg or something.
Or just lost.
Or lost, and, I don't know, we just, do some research.
West Macon and Nantahala, the fire departments, I guess, are the two that.
Otto has it.
Right,
Some of
Otto.
that.
We get a call about every other week. Something going on. Half the time it's nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know, this is something I think we should dabble in, maybe,
Actually,
Down the road.
I'm trying to suggest to them they need to get a drone. Just have a drone and fly up there and see what's going on. Sure beats walking 6 miles up to the trail and back.
Problem is this time of year, you can't see down on the trail. In the winter, that would be great.
End of the noonday sun.
If the hikers carried a cell phone and a GPS to let us know where you are and give us the coordinates.
A lot of the hikers get lost trying to find a cell phone signal.
That's right.
They leave the
do.
trail, and
That's
then
right.
they get turned around.
You're
And
right.
It's it's probably the best piece of safety equipment you have if you have a signal, but it'll get you in trouble if you don't. So,
If you walk off trail and get turned around, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, we know about that.
So we shouldn't be upset about the trail, the cell towers next to the AT.
well, they can make them less obnoxious looking if they want to, but
Yeah, they did
Go to
one
water.
of the caches that looked like a tree.
Go to water and walk
Yeah,
down,
walk.
keep going down the
Walk
road.
to the water.
Water,
Make it
you're
hard to
gonna come
spot.
you're gonna come to something around water.
and I've actually seen cell towers that look like trees. So.
Those were caches.
I don't know, that's just an idea for down the road discussion.
Well, one thing
We
is
don't
that
have cashiers.
on our website, we could have something about hiker safety and just have a link to either take them to. We don't need to reinvent the wheel, but
Did they have a cell tower in
a couple of
Wine
sites. Their links
You
could
know, Wine Springs got a
go
whole
directly
bunch
to those sites.
of
to give
antennas
them
up
more
there anyway. They
information.
might as well just throw a
I
cell
mean,
tower up
sometimes you
there.
get some stuff from like Red Cross.
They should,
You
just
might
for-
have
Yeah.
some stuff, I had some
The
stuff when I did the
amateur
fire
radio
department,
club.
a bunch of
Yeah, they have a
PDF
repeater.
document stuff
And
on
then we've got one.
storm safety,
Right.
flood safety,
Yeah.
and,
Amateur radio.
Well, the fire
winter
department has
safety,
a
different
repeater
things
up
like
there
that, and then you might have some
Now, what we have.
documents like that.
Well,
The
yeah,
ATC
actually,
has
it is
some
a repeater.
information. American Hiking
Transmits
Society.
in on one, it
So
comes out on another
the
frequency.
White
You're right,
Mountains
it is a
in New
repeater.
Hampshire has a
my
really good site.
And
Man,
those fire departments
Years
must be
ago,
some
a lot
people
of
who
hikers
approach
went
to
to
be
radio
supporters as
operators,
well.
carry handheld
You know,
radios.
maybe
They
be
do
supporters.
that.
Well,
since
Jack
they
Coryell.
work with
Jack
it,
was,
quite
he was
often.
the daddy rabbit of that,
Yeah.
yeah. And I tell you
They've
what.
still got a few hams in the club.
Yeah,
I'm sure Bill can tell you who.
So from the fire department perspective, I've dabbled a little, and I really thought the feedback, or my understanding is our fire department's quite knowledgeable on how to get to the trail and the routes to and from and that type of
Oh,
thing.
they know how to get there, it's just,
Doing
It's
where
a
the
hike.
people are that are lost.
yeah, finding the people.
That's right. They don't know where
First
they
time I
are.
went on one, we went out at 2 a.m., didn't get back till 8:30, never did find a person. That was fun. And it was rainy and blustery that night.
The best one we ever had was, they got lost, and they had a GPS and they had a cell phone signal. They gave us the coordinates, and we find exactly where they were. You remember that one?
No.
It was right below Warrior Crest.
But sometimes they'll wind up, they will get a signal, it'll be in Georgia. They'll hit a town in Georgia, which doesn't help us at all, because it's so far away.
Well, I'll tell y'all a little tale about it. The boys down at Skeena one time took an old crank telephone and nailed it to a tree up there. And actually some hikers tried to use it.
Is this the party to whom I'm speaking?
Oh,
Well, any action on there other than put something on our website?
Oh, I can think that's perfect.
Okay. It does bring up about, and Justin and I were talking a little bit before we started, and that is, my understanding for reading the paper is that the county planning board would be taking a look at making modifications to the telephone cell tower.
Yes.
Forget exactly
Cell
what the order.
tower, there's a telecommunication ordinance.
That's right, telecommunications.
This is why ours is wireless telecommunication ordinance.
And there was, and some of you may recall, there was an issue that I personally got involved in with the Rainbow Springs cell tower. And the issue there was, if I recall the ordinance correctly, the ordinance as written says, if I'm a landowner and I'm going to negotiate to put a cell tower up, I need to send a registered letter to every neighbor whose property abuts me. And I need to send a first-class letter to every neighbor who has property that doesn't abut, but was within a half mile of.
Sight distance?
I don't know, I forget the half mile, I don't know if that's of the tower or my property line. Don't know, can't remember. But what happened was, when you do that in reference to the Rainbow Spring Tower, the Forest Service land fell just outside that half mile. So that being the case, the ordinance did not require the landowner to notify the Forest Service. And we as a club and as ATC, we rely on the Forest Service to let us know this type sort of stuff. So the Forest Service was not made aware, and therefore ATC, the local club or ATC wasn't made aware. And so I guess I don't know if it's in an extreme case, but I told the county commissioners at the time, I said, because this relationship between the Appalachian Trail and the town of Franklin and Macon County, I think we need to do a little bit better job of that, so that the land manager, the Forest Service, the local club, ATC would be made aware and have the right to comment before the planning board or the commissioners make a decision. And it could be as simple to say, if you can see, with trees off, with leaves off, if you can see the tower from the Appalachian Trail, So how about notifying the Forest Service and the ATC so we can find it? As opposed to, I mean, you could put a distance on it, or you could, you know, do something a little bit different, but my comment was that the half mile seemed awful short distance.
So is that something that might change? You said that.
I don't know if that's part that they're gonna change. I think it's kind of standard for about all of those across the state. On those, there's kind of a general statute they have to follow, even with what we have in town. And that's, I think it's pretty standard, the half mile. Because I guess the idea is also, when you think of, you get in a more populated area, half mile, think how many people that could end up being notified. You know, if you stick a cell tower in the middle of Asheville, you know, that could be a lot of people you're sending some letters to.
A lot of people that be notified and have comments on it. But it, again, I think the Appalachian Trail, that resource that we have, and part of our mission is to protect it, whatever, however you define that, is that in that case maybe you don't lengthen the half mile, but you make some sort of comment that somebody reviewing it, you know, Matt,
Well, you could
takes a look and see that here's something significant that.
Well, you could leave it at a half mile, and then maybe, you could potentially maybe add a statement in there saying, or if it's also within 2 miles of National Forest Service,
Or
a
something.
mile of Forest
Yeah.
Service, or
Yeah.
something. I mean, that's also an attorney question, and seeing if it's legal to throw that in there as well. You know, have to look at court cases and see if people are being sued for things like that,
Right.
lost or won.
Yeah. The last item that I can think of right now is the Appalachian Trail Park Office, the National Park Service, just recently published what they call a foundation document for the Appalachian National Scenic Trail. How about give you one, and Justin, I'll give you one. It is online. You can go to www.nps.gov/APPA and search for foundation document. But it's the baseline document that defines the purpose and significance of the Appalachian Trail, and gives some guidance.
I think this ought to go to the library. Gave one to Justin, so let's let Christina take one to the library.
Yeah, I could certainly get you one. I don't know if that was something that the library, I mean, you take a look at it, see if you want to put it.
Yeah.
But it's available online, but, you know, I always like
It's
to
really nice.
look at a piece of paper, but somewhere in there you'll find Bill Van Horn's name. So-
Sure. Your picture's not in there.
No, and there's a picture of our kids on Cider Bald in there, though.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, relatively small, but anyway. But that's the baseline document which will guide. Okay, any other issues, items, new business? No, that's all right. I think we're about there. Our next meeting is the 9th of June. That being said, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good,
Christina,
thank
you
you.
want to take that to the library? Yeah, because Justin's got the town copy there.
There's the website one can go to see the digital copy. All right, so thank you all very much.
Thank y'all.
I think we got beer, bluegrass, and barbecue Thursday night to support LT.
Do you remember
Outdoor
that
76.
website again for that?
It'll be in a minute.